massive police checkpoints almost. I saw one on 14th and W. So there's definitely an uptick in security here in Washington. And the question a lot of people are having is to what end?
Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Thursday, August 14th, 2025. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, Trump's push for a D.C. security fund runs straight through Congress. Number two, the GOP Dem primary playbook. And number three, exporters are nervous following the Trump chip tariff deal. All right, Jake, let's get to it. One of the big storylines of the week, of course, is what the Trump administration is doing in D.C., taking over control of the Metropolitan Police Department and using National Guardsmen. And now it looks that Trump is going to be asking Congress for some money here. He only has 30 days of home rule, making some statements that could be extended potentially. But getting funding from Congress for this D.C. security fund will be very challenging, I would say, at best.
Yeah, so the images, Ann, I don't know if you've seen, because I just saw it when I woke up a little while ago, but massive police checkpoints almost. I saw one on 14th and W. So there's definitely an uptick in security here in Washington. And the question a lot of people are having is to what end? Meaning, what are they trying to achieve with these things? We'll see how it goes, and we'll see how long it lasts. But the president floated yesterday a DC security fund, which is, well, there's two issues here. There's how the Democrats are handling this, and then there's the actual whether Trump is going to do something. So DC Security Fund, according to the people I spoke to yesterday, is going to be something that the White House tries to get them to pass, that is going to improve roads, bridges, fund police, and improve public spaces.
I mean, they slashed a bunch of money for DC previously. They have not restored.
Yes, they didn't slash it directly. What they did was they limited kind of flexibility about how DC spends money, which was in effect slashing the D.C. budget. The D.C. government went crazy over this, rightfully so, but Congress hasn't fixed it, and D.C. kind of found a way around it, I guess. Mike Johnson said he was going to handle it. He hasn't. So listen, this legislation, again, we don't know how serious they're going to take it. There's a lot of ideas out of the White House that kind of poof and then go away. So I don't really know if this is one of those things, and I'm not sure the White House knows yet. There's no price tag for this bill yet, although some people I spoke to yesterday ballparked it in the single-digit billions. Trump suggested that this fund would be for a relatively small amount of money. This was at a press conference at the Kennedy Center. It's also not clear whether this would go to pay for the D.C. National Guard, which has been deployed here in Washington. And this is going to run straight into the government funding fight at the end of this year, Anna, because that's what needs to happen today's August 14th. The government runs out of money on September 30th. I know everybody's kind of chilling out and enjoying their August recess, but it's going to run headlong into this. And Anna, the Democrats, as we write here, you could talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
The Democrats don't seem like they're going to play along here.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, the clock is ticking. This would have to very likely be part of an appropriations process. The DHS approves bill already having challenges, right? You have Senator Chris Murphy there as the ranking member saying he's not going to work on this. And that was even before the D.C. Security Fund was being floated by the Trump administration. Democrats are having a very aggressive posture here, right? I mean, whether it was Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer or others are saying, basically, hell no. I mean, they're not going to work with the Trump administration on this funding. There's a strong belief within the Democratic Party, and when you talk to Democratic operatives, that this is just a crisis of Trump's making. Many believe in response to trying to get beyond the Epstein files and find something else for the national media and kind of talking heads to be really focused on here. We'll have to see. To your point, I think sometimes these things kind of are floated as trial balloons or kind of thought bubbles of in real time. Okay, does this have legs? Does it not? But I mean, there's real impact here, right? As you say, photos from overnight where you have basically checkpoints across the city. This is going to be something that is, as people who live in the district, and there's a lot of members of Congress and their staff who do spend a lot of time in the district living here when they're not in their districts or in their states. I mean, this is going to be felt in a real way.
And you and I both do, so we'll see if we notice it. Chuck Schumer told an interviewer yesterday, no expletive way, whether the and this is a family podcast, so I don't want to say the expletive, but you could guess. It ends in ing. Congress would have to extend Trump's authority over MPD, the DC Police Department, and that's what Schumer said when he was asked if he would do so. He said, we'll fight him tooth and nail. I want to just mention this. There is political risk here for Democrats. A lot of Democrats understand this. Crime is not nearly as bad. You know, Trump has said that DC is going to hell because of crime. Now, it's not as bad as Trump is making it out to be, but it's also not like DC. Cities have crime problems, right? Like DC is a major city that has crime problems, and everybody kind of acknowledges that, right? The mayor acknowledges that. The police union backed Trump here, the DC police union, which has clashed repeatedly with DC Mayor Muriel Bowser and the DC City Council. So if Democrats just say, you know, no problem here, nothing to see, there's nothing, nope, you know, there's nothing to fix. That there's also risk in that, Anna, because, you know, you and I remember how many campaigns have Republicans run with Democrats being soft on crime. Granted, this is one city and it's, you know, but what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a really smart point, Jake. When you look at Republicans have been working on this issue as a key campaign issue for at least the last couple of cycles, and it didn't seem to be working, but the whole defund the police effort, Democrats kind of trying to figure out how they can message on these issues. If they're able to utilize this as not an overreach, right? Because you also saw in California, right? Karen Bass, mayor of LA, struggling, terrible polling, and just public sentiment coming out of the fires in California, but then saw her kind of political, future potentially swing back into the positive after the president deployed the National Guard in LA. That really did not work well for Donald Trump. And so I think that's going to be the question. Is it seen as an overreach? Is it seen as how can Democrats play this? I think it's a really important point, and we'll have to watch that very closely. All right, Jake, let's move on to the number 2 story of the morning. Republicans are accusing Democratic candidates running in battleground districts of making a sharp pivot to the left to fend off progressive primary opponents. Of course, this is an issue that both parties deal with, right? That they are kind of constantly having to look to their right or their left flank. But Republicans see an opportunity here when it comes to some of these members in districts where they think they could potentially pick off a Democratic member of Congress.
Yeah, and Anna, I'll actually put a twist on this story a little bit, which is, I know it's exciting.
Twist. 5:45 a.m. twist. Who knew?
Exactly. Well, here's what I would say. You and I talk about this a lot. The principal problem for most members of Congress is they go home and they have a primary, right? Because that's what redistricting has wrought across the country. In these states, in Texas and in California, if they get it done, in Florida where they're trying to get it done, this is only going to become more acute because as more districts become red or blue, primaries are going to be more intense and drive people more to the polls. Polls meaning POLES, not polls like driving people to vote. Because and that's what's going to happen nationwide. And we've seen, to be honest with you, in a lot of these seats that Democrats are trying to win, the preferred candidate by some, and this happened to Republicans too, the preferred candidate by some is getting dragged to the left because that's where I'd say the base of the party is going, although not in districts that are competitive. That's not where the electorate's going. So it's a very interesting item by Mika that does capture this moment in time for both parties.
All right, let's run to the number 3 story of the morning. Nvidia and AMD's decision to agree to pay the U.S. government 15% of its sales of certain advanced chips to China is making tech exporters anxious. They'll also have to pay up if they want to sell sensitive products abroad. Of course, this came across as pretty shocking to the industry. I think everybody, not just tech exporters, but in general, exporters are looking to what actually the deal ends up being because they're really trying to hash out the details of this, right? It was kind of the top line headline that this was going to happen, but it's unprecedented. And you've got a lot of nervousness, Jake, about, okay, so if they're going to do this to Nvidia and AMD, who maybe are making billions of dollars and can afford it, what about my small slice of the pie?
Yeah, Nvidia and AMD are probably the prime examples here, but it's a very smart item by Ben. I gotta give it to him here. He writes a lot of smart items, but this is a really smart one. Like, is there going to be a ransom, so to speak, for doing business overseas? And if Nvidia and AMD have to pay 15% of their sales to sell it to China, is there going to be? And by the way, we should say this is unprecedented, right? This is not a normal thing to have to cough up a bunch of money to the U.S. government to do business overseas. I mean, and you have John Molinar, the chair of the House China Select Committee, saying export controls are a frontline defense and protect our national security. We should not set a precedent that incentivizes the government to grant licenses to sell to China that will enhance its AI capabilities. I just think this is an interesting precedent for all companies that are going to do business overseas, and something that, to be honest with you, K Street and corporations are going to have to watch.
And I think I just want to make one point here because I think it's important what you note there, right? China is one of the few areas where you have a lot of agreement on Capitol Hill. And a lot of Republicans are, Senator Tom Cotton, others are very hawkish. And, the anti-China sentiment goes across both
Runs
parties.
hot. Yep.
And this could be one of those areas where the Trump administration is vis-a-vis where Republicans in Congress are. There could be some tension there. Worth watching, seeing how that plays out. One quick thing, because we are redistricting all the time, every day. Important here, we have an item, and I just want to note it, and I'll get your feedback. The Supreme Court set October 15th as the date when it will hear new arguments on a case challenging Louisiana's congressional map. The High Court initially heard the case last term, but did not rule, and asked for involved parties to file additional briefs. Everyone is going to be watching that really closely, Jake.
Yeah, Louisiana is one of these states that could come out of the woodwork here. We know Ohio, we know Missouri, we know Texas, we know California. Ohio is court mandated. The Supreme Court could throw another wrench in this and force Louisiana to redraw. Louisiana just had an issue with their map. Could they be forced to redraw ahead of the midterms? What will the impact of that be? Remember, there's also a Senate election in Louisiana. Bill Cassidy's up for re-election, although he's not getting much attention. He is seen as vulnerable to a primary challenge. He has former Congressman John Fleming as an opponent already. Could there be more people that get in if the map is changed? Julia Letlow is someone that a lot of people are watching. That remains to be seen. It'll be a very big story, and just a very big story for the House overall as well.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for listening, watching. We appreciate it. Please share the Daily Punch on social media. Tell your friends and family. It's the best way for folks to find out about us. And of course, you can go deeper on all these issues and more by going to punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.